to laugh at that one. Hi, everyone. I am Tara Thompson-Cusack, President and CEO of the Troy Chamber of Commerce, and I am very excited to welcome you here today to our Your City, Your County, Your State, and You. And I'd like to thank Sheila for that very long name that she created for this event. This event is proudly supported and presented by Consumers Energy, and we are very grateful for their support. They are located directly here in front of us. You will hear a little bit from them shortly. So now I have to actually read some things. So just so you guys are aware, I want you to invite in the conversation today. Please use our hashtag, which is hashtag TCYourCity23. If you can't figure that out, it's the name of the event. TC is Troy Chamber, and it's the year 23. So make sure you're TCYourCity23. This event is actually one of my favorite events of the year. And why it's one of my favorite events is we actually remove all politics from this event. It's really about how businesses can work together and work with the government to understand and get a better understanding of all the great things that they can do together. Today, we are going to hear from some great representatives. I'm extremely excited for this panel. You see some of them every year, but they're great every year, so that's why it's wonderful. But I'd like to welcome Mayor Ethan Baker, Oakland County Executive Dave Coulter, and MEDC President and CEO Quentin Messer, so thank you. And joining us this year, we have six-time Emmy Award-winning moderator Taryn Asher joining us. And it's obviously a great honor that we're going to have Governor Whitmer giving the closing remarks. So I would like to say the Troy Chamber is proud to serve our members and remain nonpartisan. We are nonpartisan, guys, just to give you a heads up. Our sole focus is to help the business community and connect all of our professionals together and all the resources that they may need. While we continuously see a political divide on many topics that we address daily, it's important to remember to treat others with respect, dignity, regardless of their political views. And today is not about party or affiliation. It's about how we can work together and how we grow. And I'm incredibly honored to see so many faces in the audience today because I know we're all here to work together and to grow. So let's give yourselves a round of applause. At this time, I would like to thank all of our Platinum members on the slide behind me. Oh, he's great. Thanks for getting that done right. They are truly dedicated to the Troy Chamber and all the great things we couldn't do without their support. So let's give them a big round of applause. And today could not happen without the support of today's sponsors. Our presenting sponsor, Consumers Energy. Our gold sponsor, Corewell Health. Our media sponsor, D-Business. Visionary sponsors, MI Digital and Smart. And I'd also like to take a moment to thank our connecting sponsors, Gorman Real Estate Collective, Fairway Independent Mortgage, Oakland Community College, Security 101, and Yo and Yo CPAs and Advisors. Let's give them a round of applause. Finally, I'd like to give a special thank you to CMN TV, who's in the back, who is doing the recording and was here late last night, also trying to get this set up, and the entire team at the Troy Marriott. As you can see, their hospitality has been exceptional, and we are so very grateful to be here today. Let's give them a round of applause. Now it is my honor to introduce our presenting sponsor of today's events, Lauren Royston, who is my friend as well, so very exciting, our Community Affairs Director with Consumers Energy. Lauren is a community relations and economic development professional with over 20 years of experience. Her current role, she engages with local government and community organizations and leaders in Southeast Michigan to create strategic partnerships. You will also find her working with local municipalities to ensure the company is delivering the proper hometown service and care to customers. She told me to shorten it, but I didn't. So, she received her BA from Spelman College and a Master's of Public Administration from Wayne State University. Lauren, please join us.
Okay, yeah, I told her like one sentence. Good morning. Again, I'm Lauren. Thank you to the Troy Chamber for having me. You know, I value our partnership very much. But if you've seen me before, you know I always like to share a few tidbits about consumers' energy. Yes, we're still sending you your monthly bill. That will never change. But in addition, we're on a clean energy journey. So what we're doing, what's right for the planet and for the people. Our plan focuses heavily on renewable energy and energy efficiency to meet Michigan's energy needs. So in addition to solar and wind at Consumers Energy, we're now exploring how renewable natural gas, or RNG, can reduce greenhouse gas emissions. And we want to help customers do the same thing. So what is renewable natural gas? Is it a fancy word? Yes. Is it a new technology? No. RNG is renewable fuel. It's interchangeable with like conventional natural gas, made from organic waste and other renewable sources. And it can be used to help heat Michigan homes, power your businesses, power your stoves, dry grain for farmers. RNG, it's a key technology available to reduce methane emissions, which is a gas which is more potent than carbon dioxide. So we want to reduce methane emission. But here's the fun part. What is it made from again? RNG is produced mainly from livestock manure. Yeah, cow poop. Cow poop. Yes, that is a renewable source of energy that is powering our future. So it's a whole process. There's biodigesters and water and mix and stuff, but all that to say, it's the technology that we're loving right now. We're loving working with our dairy farmers, so more to come on that. But just know when you hear RNG, or renewable natural gas, we're talking about the cows and what they, So you've learned something today, because I learned something when I heard about that. But in summary, Consumers Energy, we help Michigan communities thrive. It's our job to make the communities that we serve a better place to live, work, and play in energy and beyond. So please feel free to check us out, consumersenergy.com/clean energy to find out more about the Clean Energy Plan, or consumersenergy.com/business. We have a bevy of business resources for small, medium, large-sized businesses, so please do check us out. Now, the fun part. I get to introduce our moderator for today. Since she was 8 years old, she knew she wanted to become a broadcast journalist. She grew up in Fenton, attended Powers Catholic High School in Flint, and graduated from Michigan State University. Currently, you can catch her on Fox 2, co-anchoring on weekday evenings at 5, 6, 10, and 11, news with good friend and colleague, Roop Raj. Taryn has covered everything from presidents and politics to the most dangerous crimes and taking on those who are responsible, even helping to change state law to ban the sale of synthetic drugs. Throughout her career, Taryn has won 6 Emmy Awards, including Best News Anchor and multiple awards from the Michigan Association of Broadcasters and Associated Press. In her free time, she enjoys spending time with her friends and family, including her husband, Jason, her daughter, who is the light of her life, and her 4 dogs that keep her very busy. Ladies and gentlemen, I introduce to you Taryn Asher.
Thank you. That was a lot of good energy with that. I feel like this is your life that I just went on. But yes, my lovely co-anchor who's here, I think he was just sent to check up on me and make sure I was doing this okay. No, I'm kidding. We were working till 11:30 at night. We love Troy. In fact, we talk about Troy all the time because Roop is a Troy native, and I feel like the son of Troy. So I feel like I live here as well. But we want to get started, so let's bring our panel up right now. And, well, of course, I know, Mayor Ethan Baker of the city of Troy. Oakland County Executive Dave Coulter, and Quentin Messer Jr., who is the president of the Michigan Economic Development Corporation. I guess I don't really need, I can move. Well, it's great to be here with you all, and I would like to have just a conversation. We don't want to make it, really stiff, but I feel like it's important, and I like to ask questions that people want to know, but in a nice, happy way. Don't worry, Rob Wolchak is not standing around the corner with the Hall of Shame. We're not here to...
this isn't Let It Rip.
No, not Let It Rip,
right.
but somewhere in the middle, maybe. But we're not doing anything Tara controversial, don't you worry. But I want to start with this because I thought it was interesting. I was speaking to JoJo right before. She's in this lovely purple dress in the second row. And I said, why'd you come here today? What do you want to know? And she said that she lives in Rochester. She does a lot of business here in Troy. And she wants to know why people are attracted to Troy, why they want to do business here, why they want to live here, and why she should continue to invest her time, business, money into this area, and what she could expect down the road and how to expand that. What do you think it is, Mayor?
Whew, all right, I guess that's for me, right? Well, Thank you. Thanks, Tara. I'm glad you're here. And if you don't know, this is a conversational event. So it was going to go that way no matter what. But I love that question. I love JoJo too, of course. And it's a great question. We get asked that all the time. And we've got a whole concept in the city of Troy that, we don't offer incentives, like financial incentives like the state does or the county does. We offer a little bit of help here and there, but we don't have the ability to give out, big tax abatements or, checks to get people to come. So we really focus on the qualitative aspect of the city of Troy, right? We know that as the largest city in Oakland County with the, huge business community, it's really important for us to continue to be it sounds kind of corny, a shining city here in Oakland County that wants people to come. So we do that by having an amazing group of residents who are, welcoming, very diverse, very educated, very caring. We've got a business community, obviously along the Big Beaver corridor, up the North Corporate Troy, in the Crooks area, that is just top notch. So infrastructure is important to the city of Troy. We make sure we have what they need to good roads so they can get here on everything. But really it's about the experience of, I've heard time and time again from big business owners here in the city, the employees need to be, we need the employees to want to be here, right? So we do that by what some of us call quality of life. Mark Adams, our economic development manager, calls it quality of place. It's something I'm here a little bit more about. But great schools, great restaurants, great shopping, great infrastructure, great people. All that is what draws people to do business here.
Specifically, though, a little more. Oh, look.
Look at that. So kind over there, Roma.
We're in a time where everything's online, and a lot of these big businesses, we saw what happened with Bed Bath & Beyond and other things. It might be a little different reason why with those coupons, but it's hard to keep these businesses in the brick and mortar stores now. How do you try to retain those businesses, especially in the city of Detroit?
I think it's all those things I just said, really. I mean, the focus is obviously, I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about our partnership with the Troy Chamber. You all know they're an amazing group of people and they do a great job promoting our businesses. But the concept is, I mean, you look around, city of Troy is always, I mean, since the 60s when Somerset was built, or it started, people have wanted to be here because of the freeway. And people hate it when I talk about location as the reason they're in Troy, but it does make a big difference. We compete on so many levels. We have again, because people want to live in Troy, that means there's going to be employees here. That's a big, big part of it. The other aspect is we've got top-notch office buildings. We've got a corridor full of restaurants and shopping that will keep people here. We lack some of the public transportation that a bigger city may have, although we love our relationship with SMART and Smart Flex especially.
It's very interactive.
I feel like I'm trying to touch all these bases here. Politician.
Good politician.
It just comes down to getting our message out that we're a great place to be, not just to work, but to be. And if you want to be here, employers are going to come here. We're going to draw people in. We've got, we've got a lot of office buildings in the city of Troy.
Sure.
Obviously, with COVID, I'm trying not to use that word anymore. The new C word. It's a very, yes, he just said that. Sorry, everybody. Good morning, wake up, wake up.
You're fine.
That's,
We're gonna move over now.
We're hearing a lot of amazing things, right? I mean, there are long-term leases in effect, but we're hearing great things about our landlords are working with their tenants to reduce space, but that's allowing opportunities for smaller space in a big building that maybe an employer couldn't be before, right? So things are opening up. The other big part of it is,
Save something for your State of the City.
No, I'm done. I'm almost done.
Next week.
All
I'm
right.
just saying.
Dave's telling me to shut up. Dave Coulter just told me to shut up. I just want that on the record.
He's giving you the rest.
Wait till the governor gets here. We'll see. We love Troy. Come do business in Troy. Most of you do it already. It's a great place to do business, Taryn. That's the reality. It just is.
Is there anything new we can expect? Business, I know that the Oakland Mall is just a new owner now. What's coming up with that? Do we have any information of?
Yeah, well, Mario is a very energetic guy, works very hard. He's trying to do a lot of interesting things out there. I think he's going to be successful in kind of changing what that vibe is. That's a part of our city that a lot of people, the business community especially, tends to not look at as much. I mean, manufacturing and industrial, of course, but we're really, I'm excited that Mario Kesey's got some ideas for the Oakland Mall. I think it's going to change a little bit how he brings families into the city of Troy. I know that's his big goal. And there's all kinds of exciting things. We've got a new ice skating pavilion, an ice skating amenity coming. Again, it's that quality of life, those qualitative issues that attract people to Troy.
Well, and that's what people seem to be looking for now, because after the pandemic, a lot of, we know, workers don't want to work anymore, or they want to stay home. Some of the young employees, I know that's one of the biggest challenges. David, maybe you could speak about this. It's retaining, not only getting workers, it's retaining them. So Oakland County, I mean, how are you working to really keep people, first of all, moving to Oakland County, and then wanting to work in, in these businesses?
Yeah, that's a great question, and it's something that our economic development folks are focused on all the time. First of all, how do we attract more people to this county and this region, frankly? Because, as I like to say, you know, Metro Detroit is, as a region, is in competition with other regions across the country and the world. I don't view it so much as we're in competition with Detroit or Macomb or Wayne, which has sometimes been historically the perception. But as a region, we need to grow in order to have long-term success. So how do we do that? And interestingly, and Troy's a great example of this, Oakland County would have actually lost population in the last census over the last 10 years had it not been for foreign-born residents. And many of them have settled here in Troy and Farmington Hills and Novi and West Bloomfield and lots of places. So from my perspective, we put out the welcome mat to say anybody who wants to come here, participate in their communities, be good citizens, and send their kids to our schools and shop, you are welcome here in Oakland County. So
That is true, because you're a big promoter of inclusivity and diversity, and being able to support that. And the younger generation wants more than just a good paycheck.
That's right. They want that quality of life. And part of that quality of life, frankly, is diverse communities, walkable, transportation, and you touched on that. I still envision a transit system in this region. We took a big step in November by expanding our transit system here countywide, which was an important step. But we're not done. We need a transit system because younger people today don't want a car like I did or you did at 16. That was the first thing I wanted.
I know.
I wanted 16. I wanted a car, and at 18, I wanted to move out. Does that sound like any young people today? None that I know.
I know.
So we got it. So, and that's key too. Is when I was mayor of Ferndale, I use this example sometimes, but we put in a lot of bike lanes on almost every street we repaved, and sometimes the older folks, my age and older, would grumble about that. Why are we putting in all? It's harder to drive. It's harder to plow the snow. I said, we're not doing this because the mayor is a big bike rider. We're doing it because young people tell us that these are the kinds of things. That was just one example. The kinds of things we're trying to attract young families and new people to our community because we're not going to be here forever. So it's paying attention to what people want. And so that gets back to the quality of life, the creating a place here where people want to be. And it's both Oakland County's bread and butter. I mean, it's a great, safe, thriving place. But if you poll young people, the larger perception among them is it's kind of boring. No offense to that, right? I mean, I've had this conversation with people. We have to constantly be conscious of the fact that we have to add the kinds of things. That's why we have the Main Street Oakland County program. We are trying to make unique individual downtowns and communities that are different from each other and that attract people, because we need to do that, and those are the kinds of things I think that are going to help attract people to our region. And then the thing that I would just add is the thing that attracts employers to Oakland County I will correct one thing you said. The county does not have economic incentives that we can give. This is the guy if you need.
He's all of mine. Yeah.
If you need those. What we have is the same as you, Mayor, the quality of life and the workforce, though, okay? And so what we're trying to do, one of our big initiatives in Oakland County is what we call Oakland 80. 60% of our residents, our adults, have something beyond a high school diploma. That is not going to be good enough in the future to have the kinds of life and lifestyle and be able to raise a family on. So the state was really, I think, smart in the governor. I give her a lot of credit because I just stole her idea, let me just be honest. In her first state address, she said she wants to get the state's average to 60%. 60% because we were only at 40%. That's not good enough. Not only for our employers, but for the wages. You make more money the more educated and skilled you are. So then we took a look at that in Oakland County. We were already at 60%. So we said, well, do we just sit back and wait for the state to catch up? Heck no. So we set the goal of 80%. We're going to try to get to 80% by 2030, and we've invested a lot of money in that because that attracts jobs and it increases wages of our current people. So that's what we're up to.
Right, yeah, education navigators, right? That you
Yes.
have that help. We probably all needed one of those back in the
You know, that was an interesting concept because when I got the education leaders together, the Oakland U, OCC, Lawrence Tech, all of these places, I said, what can we do to help you get more students? And they said, you know, our problem is not enrolling students, our problem is in graduating them. Life happens. They don't have the same resources or safety nets that some of us did when we were going to school. So when life happens, they drop out and they don't come back. So our biggest issue is getting them back. So we said we can help with that. And so we even used some of our ARP dollars to literally hire what we call education navigators, that when something happens, your car breaks down and you don't have transportation, you child care, whatever it is, we're going to, or you need scholarship money, or you don't know how to navigate the system, we want to either help you stay in school or get back in school, and that's been a big focus for us.
That's great. I have lived in Michigan my entire life. So I do know how, it's interesting to see, and I'm not sure if everybody agrees, but I feel that Michigan almost is 3 states in one. You have the Metro Detroit area, you have the west side of the state, and of course you have up north. Yeah. Quentin, with that being said, and with the governor, we've seen a lot of investment from Milan to Detroit when it comes to affordable housing, or is it hard to address all of the different needs in our state with so many, I guess, diverse needs in terms of the residents or people here, and trying to continue to grow it and keep it on the same path?
So it's a great question. I'm honored to be here. There were 3 things when I went through the interview process with the executive committee and then ultimately the governor. And the one thing that struck me about the governor, she said, impossibility is not a word in my vocabulary. And if you really think about the history of Michigan, impossibility is not who Michiganders are. You wouldn't have the car. You wouldn't have the assembly line. You wouldn't have snowboarding. You wouldn't have so many things if the impossible was a part of the vernacular. So you have to, I take that, and when I go to 83 counties, 2 of the most beautiful peninsulas in the world, I have that in the back of my mind. And so I was in Battle Creek yesterday. And there are maybe 80% of the concerns are very similar to Troy. But you understand that, and you trust the leadership of your mayor, your chamber, other leaders to say, what's that 20%? And let us have the space working with, I'm an Oakland County resident, so this is my county executive, and dear friend. And you try to set the atmosphere and understand what must be true to be competitive. And I'm a huge sports fanatic. And I always say, you focus on playing the game the way the game is called, not philosophically with the way you think it should be called. And you especially see that in NFL draft. I'm a Lions fan. Parenthetically, they're going 11-6 this year, and they're going to win the division.
Did you like last night?
We can talk offline. I trust the draft
All right.
process. I trust the draft process. But the point of me saying that was, and why I say that is because there are things that unite us. Spirit of competition, the belief in problem solving, the trust in our local leadership, the welcome mat. That's who Michigan is across both peninsulas, across 83 counties. But it'll be foolhardy to say Troy should be doing things the same way as Flint or Saginaw or Cadillac
Right.
or Escanaba or Iron Mountain or whoever. But the governor and the MEDC executive committee and bipartisan members of the legislature have demanded of me, you've got to create the atmosphere where entrepreneurs and large businesses can feel as if they are in an environment that's predictable, is responsive to what the marketplace is. Because as I tell people, I can't live in the theoretical. There's one person in the state has to wake up and think about the economy of 10 plus million people listening. And I have to figure out how are we going to win not just today, because I'm not getting any younger, but it's for the 3 children and the son-in-law I have, so that they will say, whether it's Troy or somewhere else in Michigan, I can realize my hopes and dreams here. And we need each other. That's why I have to come here and be in listening mode and accept, hey, Troy gonna do certain things, and that's fine, because you know best. But if we have an atmosphere that is responsive and we win what we control, I mean, to close it out on just a sports analogy, I love Dan Campbell. And if you listen to any football coach, he or she will tell you that the key is winning your assignment. If you focus on winning your assignment, gap control and discipline assignment, then you can have a champion team. And you have to win at all 3 levels of the defensive line, the linebackers, the secondary. And they all have to come together on that 53-person roster. And that's what we have to do, whether it is Troy among the 130-odd thousand people, whether it's the million-plus people in Oakland County, whether it's 10-plus million people in Michigan. Because let me tell you something. Tennessee, Georgia, Ontario, Mexican states, they don't care about our fussing and fighting. They're trying to take what we have. And it's not going to happen on my watch, but we need to do it together.
Well, everything you said is obviously right on point, but what's key to that is really everybody being on the same team. And I feel like that's what seems to be going on right now. We're getting a press release every day, it feels like, from the MEDC about what you're investing in and what the state is investing in and how we continue to grow. What do you think, in your thoughts, and this question to all 3, is our major priority moving forward? And I know it takes all the different affordable housing, quality of life, jobs, but in terms of investment moving forward, what do we need to do now to ensure we have a strong economic future? Quentin, you can pick
Well,
it up.
I think there are 3 things, and I'm not going to step on the governor, but the one thing, that notion of impossibility is not a word. So if you assume that is the case, then you have to say, what are the atmosphere, the conditions that have to be true? We are a state that makes things and grows things. We have to continue to do that. And the biggest thing that we have to grow is we have to grow people. And we have to enable people to matriculate and get through the system through different on-ramps. Not everybody is going to be able to go from pre-K3 to 2- and 4-year institutions and in a straight line. Some people, life is going to have them to take detours. And we need to make sure that we allow people to re-engage. So that's one. The second thing is, this is going to sound relatively minor, but it's significant. I'm a native Floridian. I moved up from Louisiana. And the first time I moved here, people always asked me, how are you dealing with the weather? Stop complaining about the doggone weather. Because I consider myself a rational human being. And it wasn't an issue until you made it an issue.
All right.
So you got to think about how you set the atmosphere of a situation. And having evacuated from hurricanes, I'll take gray, snow, whatever, because I know there's going to be a house when I get back to it. You may not know that on the other side of some of these other places. And I think the final thing is you have to really think about the word and versus or. And I don't apologize, I'm a Christian. And so my sensibility is always informed by the notion that God is infinite. And if he colors the canvas of our imagination, there's nothing we can't do. I'm not foisting that on anybody. But my sensibility is, I don't know or, because that's not who he is. And so that's not who we should be.
What about, Mayor, electrification? I mean, is that something that Troy's on board for and moving in that direction? Because it seems like that's the focus right now, if it's investment from the state when it comes to this. Do you think that the city of Troy, that's something that you're going to get on board with and continue to support?
Yeah, I've said it actually at this event for a couple of years. I'm looking for some partnership, I mean, at the county level and the state level on what we can do, because I think Troy is the perfect place to increase the electrification, to have, I mean, because of the amount of businesses and people that come into our city, and I-75 obviously, we've got the perfect opportunity to kind of be the focus of Oakland County on the electrification aspect. And I know, we talked about it when I got here with Sean Carlson. Where are you, Sean? I know Mark Miller, our city manager, is here, and we're trying to get a meeting together. There he is, Mark. We're trying to get a meeting together to talk about that because we've got some ideas and opportunities. Yep. I think that's a component to it, right? I mean, I think the problem now, as with everything, is the division in this country and this state. I mean, you start talking too much about one thing, it upsets and it irritates to no end another group of people. So electrification is a piece of it. I was shocked when Lauren didn't say, "Hey, we're Consumers Energy, not DTE." Usually
right,
that's how
I was
we lead.
gonna.
But no, are we past that? We're partnering. I gotcha. But that's a legitimate question.
And it was going to be my follow-up as well.
If we have grid problems,
right.
We can't just focus on making all of our stuff electric. There's going to be some conflict there. But the infrastructure and the forward thinking needs to be there. And I think another thing our state's really good at is looking to the future and figuring out what we need to create and to be, so we can be a leader there. And that makes us, to follow up, a little bit more competitive. I think we need to be competitive as a state, not as a city or a county, but the whole region, to say, hey, Tennessee, Georgia, or people looking at those states, we're also awesome, and this is why. The weather is an issue. I'm from California. I hear the same thing. First question. The weather, though, how do you do it? It's like, that is a problem. I mean,
we don't have to worry about hurricanes, but obviously the power outages have been a little...
and the perception of Michigan, I think, has always been a little bit of a struggle. Somebody who grew up away from this state, you don't always hear about our beautiful lakes and our wonderful weather and the great people that are here. You hear about the weather, you hear about Detroit going bankrupt, for example, that kind of stuff. So, to me, we really have to put that positive focus on what we can do to elevate, our image, our city, county, state, to draw people, and that's a big part of it. And we just have to stay competitive, whatever that means.
Yes,
but Taryn,
yes.
you asked what's the one thing, and that's hard to do.
Sure.
Quentin had to do 3 because he couldn't narrow it down to 1.
You can do 4 if you want.
I thought you were my friend.
And my initial response in my head from an economic perspective, because this is a group of business leaders and others, is that at least in this county, it is the workforce. Every business I talked to said, I would grow more if I had more people who were skilled in the things that I need. All the time I hear about that. That's why Oakland 80 is so important to me. That's why Sean Carlson, my deputy executive who oversees, where are you, Sean? Just raise your hand. He thinks about this every day. How do we get more workers, not just, again, like I said, so the businesses thrive, but so that we can increase wages and the quality of life for our people. But then you touched on electric vehicles, and there's an issue bigger than workforce, and it's bigger than any other issue, in my humble opinion, and that is, if we don't protect the planet that we live on, then all of the rest of the stuff that we do is not going to really mean a hill of beans to our grandchildren. So electrification is important from an economic development standpoint, and I think we can create a lot of green jobs, and I know Quentin knows this better than anybody. There's an economic opportunity to sustainability, but bigger than that, these storms are getting worse. The weather's getting more extreme. I'm not a meteorologist. I know you guys work with some. They can tell you this better than me. But if we don't protect this planet for the next generation, then all the rest of the stuff that we're talking about here isn't going to matter. So we need to do electrification and the rest for our survival, for God's sake.
But are we putting the cart before the horse in terms of our grid and our infrastructure? I mean, if we can't charge the charging stations with our electricity, how do we keep our vehicles charged? I mean, is this even feasible within the next 10 years?
Let me say this. I think those are all valid concerns, and I think greatness is a process. It's going to be painful, but I'm encouraged because I think about a company like Our Next Energy here in Oakland County, and they started focus on extending the range of batteries. And then they realized through their technology that they can be involved in creating battery storage and energy storage solutions. And now they're doing other things. And so I think that whether it's consumers or others, we will address, and we have the capability to address making sure that there's uncompromised reliability. I think what we have to do as a state is, what are the what must be truths? How do you continue to have policies that spur innovation, investment, and focus on people investing in risk? Because that's, at some point, whether it's Our Next Energy or the businesses here, you're taking risks. You need capital to exploit the market. So I'm encouraged by that. I think the governor has the My Healthy Climate Plan. I think you see bipartisan desire to make sure that we are ecologically as well as business responsible. Because we go back to that next generation, as young people and people young in spirit like me, we are making decisions based upon stewardship of both the economy and the environment.
And if I could just quickly, the cool thing about Our Next Energy, which gets to the point you were talking about earlier, is when you meet the owner of that company, he's inspiring because he does not accept impossible. So he's making batteries for EVs, right? But batteries can only go so far. Yeah, in his ear, he heard all the people who said why this can't be successful, why batteries have limits, blah, blah, blah. And he said, no, I'm going to make a battery that goes far long. I'm simplifying this, but goes so many miles faster that people will swarm to I'm going to be the leader in the batteries. I'm going to be the Henry Ford of batteries. That's essentially what he said, is I'm going to be the Henry Ford of electric batteries. And after you meet him, you don't doubt that he can be. So I guess the point is, we're ingenious people as Americans. We are entrepreneurs, and we will make it work. I believe in the American spirit and our entrepreneurial desire to get stuff done, and I think we can.
Yes, absolutely.
You got the moderator vote. That's good. Yeah, I know.
Are there exciting things coming down the pike, though? And maybe specifically, we could speak first in Troy, just investments and things that people can expect within, I guess, the next year.
Yeah, for sure. I think the biggest, most visible, exciting thing, we've got two things coming in Troy. Our Downtown Development Authority, I know Troy doesn't have a downtown, but we have a DDA, Big Beaver Corridor. We're about to embark on a huge major landscape renovation and investment. The first piece that will be touched is that new DDI interchange at I-75, which looks like a wasteland right now, right in the middle of our most valuable part of the city from a property tax standpoint, I guess you could say. But that's going to be probably a 10-year project spread out, but we start with that DDI, and the initial costs are about $4 million. You're going to see a ton of beautiful landscaping across, that's going to last throughout all seasons, which I think is really important. So that's going to be a great visual thing you can see, which will, again, when people get off I-75 and come into Troy, that's often the first place they see. First thing they see. Sometimes we've talked about it when people come to Michigan for the first time. They landed a plane and they come up the freeway. They get off at Big Beaver. Could be the first thing they see in Michigan is that interchange, which is really important to us. So that's a big thing. We're doing the quality of life stuff like I talked about, that ice skating amenity, which is a ribbon, not a rink, and a big pavilion. It's beautifully being built and designed. I'm really excited about that. We've got a lot of investments we're able to put into the city at this time just because of obviously some ARPA dollars, things like that have come. But those are the visible things you're going to see. We just always are looking to innovate and look new things and try to keep Troy fresh, because I think a big part of our success is staying fresh and staying relevant in people's minds. We're boring, like Oakland County is, right? I mean, I hate to say it, but we're
boring
not.
Sometimes good.
It is. It's
staying out of the
boring
fray.
It's
That's right.
consistent
That's right.
and
Yeah.
reliable. I
Yeah.
mean, Troy is
There you go.
consistent and reliable, and that's why people do business here, because they know what they're going to get with the city. And they need help. Our fire department, all those things. Our public safety. It's consistently good. We may move slower on some things, but that consistency makes us very attractive, and people see it and love it.
And you mentioned, I mean, it's a very diverse population. What do you think keeps attracting different kinds of people to the Troy area?
Well, I think it's twofold. So obviously, we're 29% foreign-born now. That was the latest census numbers, which is a huge number. I mean, and really impressive, I think. And I think initially it was, well, this is where the jobs were, right? That brought people in. Well, at a certain point, it's also about people realize this is a welcoming community. We're a welcoming city. And people know that they can come here and feel welcome and live in a really caring, nice community. You add to it our school district. I see our superintendent is here. Troy School District, as you know, is award-winning and a wonderful district, and with thousands of students. So I think all of those, look at that. Somebody likes our schools. But
School board member got that
I
started.
think that attracts all those people here. I mean, when you have people coming to our city, it kind of, people learn, oh, wait a minute, Troy's the place to be. If I'm coming from India, if I'm coming from China, Troy is a safe place, it's a healthy place, it's a caring place, that's where I want to be. So I think you'll continue to see our foreign-born population increase, which is great for everything. We have a beautifully diverse city, and that's, our neighborhoods, our schools, our restaurants, all of that, it plays a big part.
And speaking in Oakland County, you have to want to make business owners feel comfortable in opening their business and being supported in the area. And Oakland County seems to be continuing with that as well.
I take that very seriously. When I got this job, there's a lot of things I want to do, but the foundation is our economy here. We are the economic engine of Michigan in many ways, and the main thing in the back of my head was don't screw that up. So Sean, thank you for your leadership over there, because we work with our businesses. Especially, it was important to me that we reach out to the small businesses and the entrepreneurs, because we do a decent job of attracting. General Motors made the largest investment in its history at Lake Orion, so I love that. $4 billion, thank you. But our bread and butter, the vast majority of our businesses are small, under 50 people, workers, and so we really lean into that a lot. And the last thing I want to say, though, is there's one piece of Oakland County that has been a challenge that I've also really focused on, and I just want to touch on briefly, and that is I believe very strongly in the potential redevelopment and re-energizing of our county seat of Pontiac, which has been disinvested in for a very long time. But there's a new buzz there. Keep your eye on Pontiac. If you got money, I'd invest in it there, because there's an energy there. There's new leadership there. We are working very closely with them, and I think to the extent that we'll ever have in this boring county an urban core, kind of a mid-towny sort of vibe to help keep young people in our county, I think it can be Pontiac. And so I'm very bullish on Pontiac, and we're going to continue to work with the leadership there to sort of really revitalize our county seat.
Quentin, for SOAR, we were talking about SOAR yesterday, but it's a big, long acronym, a lot of different, about spending millions of state to attract businesses here. But is it just large businesses? What are you doing for the smaller or the medium-sized businesses that might be struggling right now because of inflation and credit card debt? And the average person is a tough time with the rates, mortgage rates, what's going on in our economy.
Yeah, sure. I want to get to that, but
Okay.
I really want to.
It's a three-parter.
But not right away.
But something is really bothering me. It is not healthy to call yourself boring. I'm just putting it out.
All right.
I'm just putting it out there. I mean, I think you can be
Yeah.
drama-free. You can be non-stressful. But most of the world wants some flavor. I'm just putting it out there.
Fair enough.
Particularly, I don't know 19-year-olds like, I want to go to somewhere boring.
They don't, but they told us we
They're
were,
the
so
ones
I'm
saying
trying
it,
to
though.
change that.
But I'm saying,
I gotta flip that script.
But I'm
No,
just,
you're
but I'm
right.
saying,
You're right. You're right.
people are gonna say crazy stuff, but you don't say it back. You know what I mean?
It's your fault.
Right? Right? You just don't say that. Anyway, so to your question. So on the small,
He's just getting me back about the Lions thing.
but on the small business, see, this is one of the opportunities, and I have to be better about. SOAR, which is the Strategic Outreach and Attraction Reserve Fund, occupies a lot of the oxygen because of the dollars. But I would argue that it is critically important to win these transformational projects because of the positive externalities. There is a reason why 96 of the top 100 tier 1 auto suppliers have operations in Michigan, because they're OEMs. Similarly, we have to do that in semiconductors. We have to do that in clean energy, because it is easier for a small business to grow from 5 to 50 to 500 to 5,000 employees if they've got a big customer nearby. We know proximity leads to accelerated profit. So we have to do better about making sure people understand that. We were awarded about $200 million through the SSBCI program, through the U.S. Treasury. We're in the process of getting those out. We work with Mark and his team at the local level, and Sean and his team at the county level, and regionally to make sure that whether it's small business development centers in Oakland County, the Apex accelerators are supported, smart zones. And we have to make sure that it's easier for businesses of all sizes to understand the what must be truths in order to receive assistance from MEDC. And I will say that's something that we've got to be better about, because we've got to get into the mind of that because most small business people are thinking about, how do I pay my people? How do I find sustainable, profitable revenue? Because we know not every revenue is right revenue. You want profitable revenue. And how do I focus on that? So we have to make it easier for them to plug in, and that's why there's opportunities. I'm doing a lot of talking. Typically, I like to come here and listen, because that's where you okay, I need to tweak this. We need to make sure that this linkage. So there's work to be done, but there's a whole ecosystem, a team that is coming together, and we just have to make it easier for small and medium-sized business to plug into it.
Do you feel like there's a lot of new businesses that are wanting to come to our state right now? And if so, what is the main reason why?
Well, I mean, there are a lot of new business.
Or industry?
Industry. I think it's really driven, you're going to get me again, 3 reasons. I can't pick one. Number one is the talent, our friends and neighbors. We've got very talented people, high integrity, know how to make things with 0 defects. That's not insignificant. The second is we have problem solvers at the city, county, legislative, and executive levels who are pragmatic. And businesses don't care about politics. That's for other conversations. They're like, how can I get that bag? How can I make money in a predictable, no drama, consistent way? And I think we've come together to help figure that out. And the last thing, I think increasingly, our weather advantage is going to accrue to our benefit. It's hard to deploy capital in places where you may not be able to get flood insurance, where your workers may not be able to get homeowners insurance. And so I think we have to, but that's why I'm pushing you, stop saying it's boring. because you don't know who you're talking to. And if I'm sitting here flying to Detroit and someone's like, yo, I live in this boring place, they're like, I don't want to live in this. I don't want to live in this spot. You know, I don't want it dramatic. I don't want to be like doing all this. But I don't want to be, I mean, think about it. I mean, is there anything, my point is, we should be ambassadors of the possible. And that is ultimately what people are attracted to. There's a reason why people go to Texas, because Texans are obnoxiously in their belief that the sun will fall and shine first on Texas and everywhere else. And people start believing it.
So,
That's true.
so in case it's not clear, I think Oakland County is the greatest county in the state.
I know you
I
do.
really do, but I just want to add this twist to it, and I know Quentin would agree with me. There's business attraction, but sometimes we take our eye off what I think is even more important, which is business retention and
Yes,
growth.
absolutely.
We have an amazing ecosystem of businesses here, and much of what we do is touch them to say, how can we help you? How can we help you grow? How can we help you hire more people? How can we help you sell more stuff? And frankly, the results of that are you know, it's hit or miss on the attraction side, and we're always working, especially with Quentin's team, trying to do that. But frankly, I'd say more of our attention is on how do we support and grow and help you stay in business. We certainly did that during COVID when we helped keep businesses alive, but now our goal is how do we make our businesses that are here thrive? And so that's in my mind, I don't want to say it's more important, but it's equally as important.
No, you're absolutely right.
Right?
I mean, look, if you're going to build a great college football program, you got to win the recruiting battle in your home state. You got to keep your home state talent. And so you have, well, I'm not going to get into that. I'm not going to get into that. That's why I root for the Lions and I leave all that other stuff. But to your point, I will say, and Mark wanted me to make sure. Mark, Mr. Mayor, let me tell you, Mark was on his game.
Okay.
Mark made sure I had this local expertise, global appeal. He told me to say that there are going to be, can I say publicly, these companies that are coming, Mark?
Yes. If you can say it, then I can finally say it. So go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, well, so if I get in trouble, I'll take it on me. So, Anchor Automotive, Pure Forge Technology, Tata are companies next month. They're going to be announcing expansions here in this city. And I think to the county executive's point is many of those already have presence. You know, Magna's U.S. headquarters here. Yeah. And we're working with them to constantly add more growth. You know, is active. You know, we have to win. Like if the people who know you best are not happy, new people are not going to be very happy for long either. Because guess what? They're going to call you up and like, yo, what's going on? Like, yeah, I just talked to MEDC. They told me everything fine, swell, and wonderful. But let me talk to you and find the real deal. And so that's why it's that you have to be able to do both. Walk and chew gum. You know, sing and dance. You know, dribble with your right and left hand. You know.
Well, I think the pandemic really had to force us to learn how to navigate some of these challenges that came out of nowhere. So people had to become creative on how they did business or how they worked. Or I worked from my basement lounge for 8 months in my house with 3 crazy dogs and husband and child, and you know, we had to figure it out. We had to do it. So that being said, I mean, do you think that that's maybe, it does seem like there's been a shift in mentality in our state though. Now that when things come at us, it does seem like that it's people are facing it head on and trying to figure it out instead of turning a blind eye. Yeah. Thoughts?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, right? I mean, that's what
Yeah.
I think that you do see that that energy very much. Just to follow up on the retention aspect of it, do a lot of ribbon cuttings in the city of Troy. I have big scissors, we know it. But the best ones, and Tara, wherever you went, can vouch for it, is that reinvestment, right? We spend a lot of time focusing on those companies that are growing and reinvesting. And usually the ones that we're doing now, it's because they could adapt in COVID, right? They figured out a way to expand and grow, and now they're opening themselves up to something wonderful and new. But It's, Troy's not boring, let's be clear. You said it 10 times, so you're saying it more than we are. But we are very consistent. That was a little pointed, sorry, a little pointed. We're
Non-controversial.
those of you who know me know I'm always going fisticuffs up here, right? Let's talk about sports analogies. Mark Adams wants me to say Troy punches above its weight, right, Mark? You wanted me to get that out there? All right, we got that one out too. But no, we are, that consistency has allowed the opportunity for people to innovate more and to figure out how to pivot, which is another word that was overused during COVID. But that concept of moving things forward, figuring it out, growing and just embracing the changes that are to come. And those are the people that are thriving in Oakland County and the city of Troy and the state of Michigan. It's those who are, and this is a room full of mostly business people, you're here and successful because of the risks you take. There's a lot of risk taking in business. And it's our job to be consistent and reliable so that you can take those risks in a safe place. So, I mean, the more risks you're taking, we love it and we applaud it and we celebrate it. And I think that we're seeing a lot of that risk taking happen coming out of COVID, as whether that's converting office buildings to residential, which we're kind of leading the region in Troy. It's really exciting to see that change happen. Or whether it's, hey, you know what, let's expand by 100, 200, 300 employees and take over something with a new product that came out of the COVID era, right? There's a lot of that going on, so I think it's awesome. I mean, we're really excited.
Taryn, I think it's so many interesting and frankly silver linings came out of COVID. We learned so much, as you accurately said. The one that impresses, it hits me the hardest, it's not directly economic development, although I think it's related, and that is the issue of mental health. There was such stigma around mental health. There still is, obviously, but there was so much before COVID. And now we suddenly realized, wow, this could happen to anybody in any family, in any community, and we need to treat it like regular physical health and not just something separate. And I say it's an economic issue as well because it's your employees, it's you, absolutely. It's us, it's your family. And if there's a silver lining to COVID, it's that we all sort of realized that, and we really leaned in as a county. We spent millions of our dollars that we got from CARES and then ARP to help get more people, especially children and young people, but everybody, more mental health services, and because there's an opportunity to do this without the stigma. Yeah.
Well, and certainly we saw perhaps part of the stigma is going away, or more people are recognizing it after we were all locked in our, down for so long. But the point is, that was not supposed to be controversial, but I'm just saying in general, we had to take a look at ourselves. But that being said, there has been an investment, you said, in Pontiac, right? There's a new facility that's...
We're opening up a new facility, a 24/7 behavioral health crisis facility in Pontiac. Any time of the day, regardless of your income, that will be available. But we also invested $10 million to our mental health nonprofit providers across the county, and we gave them just direct grants so they could see more people. So far, they've seen an additional, on top of what they would have normally seen, an additional 66,000 Oakland County residents who probably wouldn't have gone for mental health services had it not been for those dollars and the reduction of the stigma around it. And so we continue to lean in on that.
I believe the governor, we ready? Okay, so we're wrapping up right here. We want to thank our panel. I hope everybody was just as interested as I was in all of the answers. So, Mayor, Executive.
Thank you. Yeah.
You guys are doing great. We appreciate all of your efforts. So we can let the governor.
Now we awkwardly
You guys relax. You're fine. You guys get to hang out.
We get a front row seat.
I like to make it awkward where you guys can stare at them the whole time. So enjoy. All right, everybody. Now it is my great honor to introduce today's closing speaker. She's a dynamic and accomplished leader who has dedicated her career to public service and fighting for the people of Michigan. Since taking office in January of 19, she has signed over 1,000 bipartisan bills, made the largest education investment in the state's history. She has also worked diligently to improve the lives of Michiganders by championing issues such as healthcare, education, infrastructure, and, well, fixing the damn roads. On behalf of the Troy Chamber of Commerce, it is my honor to welcome and introduce Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer.
Thank you. Thank you. Good morning, everybody. I'm so glad to be here with you all, and I love having all these dignitaries up here, literally captive audience. They cannot leave the stage. But I'm so grateful to be here with all of you, and Tara, thank you. My hat's off to the Chamber, incredible work that you do every single day, and it is a thrill for me to be spending my whole day here in Oakland County. As Dave likes to say, the best county in the state, right? Now, of course, there are 82 others that I love just equally, but I am thrilled to be here with you all day today, and I'll be speaking at Oakland University later on this morning after we go visit Borg Warner with a cool announcement, and so lots of good stuff happening here in Oakland County. And I appreciate all of the entrepreneurs and business leaders in this room for everything that you do for our mutual economic benefit and economic growth in the state of Michigan. Your efforts are truly essential to creating good paying jobs and building strong communities. Here in Oakland County, I am always inspired by the spirit of innovation and grit and hustle that drove so much of Michigan's successes. We see it playing out here in Oakland County every single day. Since I took office, we have focused on unleashing our state's extraordinary potential by creating an environment where businesses can grow and thrive. And I want to show you how we are making those things happen in Michigan. This year, we have been off to a very productive start. In January, I signed a $1 billion bipartisan supplemental investing in housing, community revitalization, and support for small businesses and entrepreneurs. In February, yes, thank you. In February, Electric Components International, Expert Technologies, and LER Tech Force will all announce investments here in Oakland County, creating 320 good-paying, high-skill jobs in manufacturing, R&D, and mobility. In March, I signed bills rolling back the retirement tax and quintupling the working families tax credit. We used to call it the earned income tax credit. This is for people who are working full-time but can't make enough to get ahead. We quintupled it. Combined, these two tax changes represent $1 billion of tax relief for people that were really struggling, especially with inflation. We have been also fighting to bring jobs and supply chains back home after the experience around the pandemic. It was a very clear lesson that we need to be doing manufacturing here in the United States, specifically here in the state of Michigan. And just recently, we took a major step forward, securing over 2,300 good-paying manufacturing jobs in Big Rapids, making long-range batteries as we look at what's happening in mobility. We are creating economic opportunity everywhere. So while I've highlighted some Oakland County successes, I wanted to highlight Big Rapids because it's not just one region or another. We also expanded Elliott Larson Civil Rights Act. We want to draw talent into Michigan. We got to make sure every person is respected and protected under the law, and that's why repealing our 1931 abortion ban and enacting some common sense gun violence prevention bills, I think, are critical components to us being that state that can lure talent into Michigan. And as Tara said, we also are continuing to work on fixing these damn roads. Since I took office through the end of this year's construction season, we will have fixed nearly 20,000 lane miles of road and more than 1,400 bridges. And I know this particular community on your commutes, you're seeing the evidence of it every day. And I want to thank you in advance for your patience. Today, I want to talk a little bit about what's next. And our goal continues to be the same: growing our state, growing our economy. Together, we can make Michigan a place where more people want to build their lives or start a family, start a business, and make it right here in Michigan. When people move somewhere, it is the ultimate vote of confidence. And our job is to make sure that more people have the support that is necessary to make sure that they choose Michigan. The way to do that is by collaborating on the issues that we're all confronting, right? Issues that families and businesses across the state need us to stay focused on: talent, education, housing, economic development. And so I want to briefly touch on each of these aspects. First, talent. I am proposing several investments to help more people be successful or make it here in Michigan. Temporarily lowering the age for the Michigan Reconnect. This was a program we designed. Yeah. You are familiar with it, obviously. We designed this program to level the financial barrier that keeps people from upskilling. It's been applied to people who are 25 and up, and we've seen so many folks go forward, and I will be mentioning 2 who are graduating at OU later today, who've gotten an opportunity to upskill because we leveled this financial barrier. But it's applied to 25-year-olds and up. When we lower that age to 21, we can make this opportunity available to 350,000 more Michiganders who are interested in upskilling, and to businesses who are looking for a skilled workforce. This is a solution that can really make a difference. So doing that, continuing funding Going Pro, which is the in-house ability for a business to upskill their current workforce, and continuing the Michigan Achievement Scholarship, and also making available apprenticeships. These are the ways that we can ensure that every person has a path to prosperity. It's not one path for everybody, but everybody deserves a path that's right for them. And so by opening up these opportunities, I think it's really making a difference. Any of you who've got seniors in high school, I hope, all right, have they filled out the FAFSA? That's the big thing. That unlocks the Michigan Achievement Scholarship, and we're going to see about 80% of this graduating class is eligible for thousands of dollars, knocking off the cost of tuition, whether it's at a community college or it is at a private or public university here in Michigan. So we're going to continue that work too. Talking about education, you know, we talk about talent, education is a fundamental, it is also about talent. This year I proposed an education budget that the legislature is currently working on that would have historic per student funding, including additional resources for rural, at-risk, and special education students. We proposed free breakfast and lunch for every student in Michigan. We know that there are a lot of kids who are food insecure, and if your stomach is hungry, it's hard to learn. If you're worried about where your next meal is coming from, as an additional stressor that a lot of our students are confronting. So to destigmatize free and reduced lunch, we're going to offer it to every student, and actually it'll help a lot of families too. Literacy support from childhood through adulthood, grants to improve air and quality in schools, and of course, grants to make sure that our schools are safe places. We have all borne witness to some of the most horrific gun violence that plays out in this country every day. We're taking steps to both make our schools secure, but also to address gun violence on the front end. So great schools are critical to our long-term success. If we want business to grow or locate here in Michigan, we want people to move to Michigan, we've got to have better outcomes for our students, and that's what a lot of the budget is truly focused toward addressing. As you all know, housing is a fundamental. It is a fundamental need all across the state too. Whether I'm in the Upper Peninsula or downtown Detroit, or I'm on the west side of the state, affordable housing is a need that is really a need all across the country. But as we have revamped MSHDA and hired a new lead there and finally put some long overdue resources in, we are really starting to make headway in this space. The bipartisan supplemental that I signed earlier this year invests and leverages $500 million in housing to build or rehabilitate 2,000 units, house 6,000 people, and create 1,600 construction jobs. That doesn't sound like a huge number, but it's a huge step forward, and it is one of many that we are going to take. We're investing $50 million in the Missing Middle program, which specifically builds housing for middle-class families near where they work. Investing $100 million. Now, these are in my proposed budget, so if you like them, call your legislator and tell them. But proposed investing $100 million in revitalization and placemaking grants, or RAP grants. These are used to convert historic or underutilized properties like old factories or schools into housing, small businesses, or community spaces. We're going to continue to power up housing and community development efforts to make sure that every region of the state there are options for people who want to move there and work there, but they got to have a great place to live. And finally, I want to talk about, thank you. Go ahead, that's fine. You can interrupt me clapping anytime you want. Finally, let's talk about economic development. You know, for years, we've been beating the drum on manufacturing jobs and supply chains and bringing them home. We shouldn't have to rely on anyone else to build world-class products and get them into the market. As I mentioned with COVID, we saw it, the whole world shut down because all the masks were produced in China. All the swabs were produced in Italy. We knew what it meant when those two countries shut down. We couldn't get the things that we needed to be safe. These are not the most complicated things to make, but we've got to be making things here in the United States. It's about our homeland security, it's about our health, it's about good paying jobs. It's why we brought Republicans and Democrats together and the public and private sector together to equip us with some powerful economic development tools. For a long time, the knock on Michigan was that we moved too slow, we didn't have the same tools other states had, and Lansing was too dysfunctional to respond quickly to an opportunity. Well, we've turned that narrative on its head by sharpening our economic development tools, and we've landed a lot of advanced manufacturing and clean energy jobs here in this state. We have the #1 growth for clean energy jobs in the country with batteries and chips and all of the different components that we are making in this transition that's happening around the globe. It's working. Since we created these tools, we brought home over $16 billion of projects and over 16,000 jobs. National publications and experts predict us to dominate the battery manufacturing sector and lead the future of mobility and electrification. And we are leading in the race to build batteries and to solve the conundrum that mobility is confronting as we look to transition, and leading in clean energy in this country. So I'm proud of the work that we've done, but we can't for 1 second think that we've accomplished all we need to. The economy continues to evolve. We must as well, and we must move fast, and we must do it together. And to maintain our economic development momentum, my budget's proposing a recurring annual deposit into the Bipartisan Economic Development Fund. We shouldn't be in a position where every opportunity we've got to go back and work with the legislature and try to cobble something together. Other states are doing this, they move faster, and this is the next step in our sharpening our tools. I've also proposed a regional empowerment program to support growth, diversification, and development of local economies, especially in small towns and rural areas. I know Oakland County is considered a big metropolis, but you also have a lot of rural areas as well, and I think that's why we need to have a lot of different tools available. I proposed a clean energy onshoring tax credit, which would incentivize companies to invest in clean manufacturing and industrial decarbonization. I can tell you, and I know that Quentin can tell you, and Dave, Mayor, you could probably tell the story too, but as companies are looking to invest or grow, they're demanding clean energy. They're demanding not just buying credits anymore. It's got to be resourced as clean as possible in the beginning. That's why this is important. And recurring sustainable grants to build more housing and revitalize our downtowns. All of these good things are in the budget that I've introduced. And so I do encourage you to make sure that your legislators know what's important to you. Don't assume that they do, and don't assume a budget as written is what ultimately gets enacted. The legislature will always make sure that they put their stamp on something, but you want to make sure that that stamp really reflects what the community and what the chamber is really hoping to see. So I want to thank you for your leadership. I know that I'm talking to some of the best ambassadors in the state here for our state. I often tell my friends across the state of Michigan, have you ever met someone from Texas? They brag about that state on and on, right? Michiganders, one of the greatest things about Michiganders, oh, do I have a Texan on the stage?
No, Quentin said the same thing.
Oh, okay. Oh, you did? You said the same thing? All right. Well, you can see Quentin and I are working very closely together, so. Michiganders are humble, and I think that that is a wonderful quality. But every one of us should feel empowered to tell the story of what's happening here. We have a unique state. We have a unique opportunity in front of us. Texas wishes they had 21% of the world's fresh surface water, right? And more engineers per capita than any other state, or phenomenal institutions of higher education. We've got to tell our story, right? And Quentin, did you tell them the story about our meeting with Hydro Norsk? All right, so Quentin and I were in Norway meeting with this company called Hydro Norsk. They have an aluminum recycling facility that they've built in Cassopolis, Michigan. My communications guru, I don't know anybody's title in my team. I don't care about titles, I never have. But Zach Pohl from my team asked the CEO of the company, said, why Cassopolis, Michigan? And they went on and on about how great, every person was that they worked with here, from the MEDC to the federal level, how we worked well with partnership. They talked about the talent, they talked about the people, they talked about the climate, they talked about the water. But at the end, it was a conversation with the city manager of Cassopolis, Michigan, that sold them. And I share that with you because I just honored her with a proclamation not long ago. But every voice on behalf of our state matters. And so I thank you for already being such wonderful ambassadors for the state of Michigan, and encourage you to keep that in the back of your mind, because every one of us can make a difference, and a single one of us could make the difference. So I thank you for the work that you do. I thank the Chamber for the incredible opportunity to be here with you, and I look forward to seeing you all very soon. Thank you.
Wow, I get on stage and everyone's standing with applause for me. Thank you. I'm just teasing. Guys, that is a wrap for our event today. Thank you so much for joining us. We are going to get some photos. Guys, just so you are aware, if you are a sponsor, please go to that side of the stage. Thank you all so much. Have a great rest of your day.